Aloha. Um, I am Naomi Allen, Girly Girl on Twitter. This is my sixth take, and every time I try to redo this, it gets worse. So, and I'm getting kind of fed up with it. So, if I start fucking up, I'm just gonna keep going, and it's gonna get published as is. This is the final straw for me. Anyway, I am not a professional vlogger, as you can tell. Um, I don't even have decent equipment. This is just a built-in cam from my cheap laptop that I run around with. Anyways, um, I am a blogger. I blog about mainly propaganda. And right now I'm working on a story about a misinfo campaign run against Tulsi Gabbard about her being part of some Hindu nationalist conspiracy. Um, I really do think this is an important story, and I really want a lot of people to know about it. But I'm like nobody. Okay, I don't have a big following or anything like that. Hopefully, this will get somebody's attention, and maybe somebody else will write somebody who's actually more popular can do the story justice so that more people hear about it. Um, before I get the story done, like I said, people are talking about this right now, and I wanted to throw a few talking points out there. Um, excuse me. First, first, I want to say that even if you don't like Tulsi Gabbard, you should pay attention to the story because it is a dangerous one that could affect, it's hurting a lot of people. I mean, I know the people who are doing this think that they're hurting Tulsi's campaign, but it's hurting more than just her campaign. When she says that this whole thing is Hindu phobic, it really is, and I would like to demonstrate how it is. I did a story a few weeks ago about that bullshit that Wahine in that woman in Kailua, Hawaii, has been running about Tulsi being part of a cult. And if you want to go to my blog, please read about that if you've run into that narrative, so you can understand just how full of shit that lady is. Anyways, now I'm working on this storyline. Um, and this one is even more, has people a lot more scared than the other one. Um, a lot of people don't understand Hindu phobia in America. We understand anti Semitism against Jews, we understand Islamophobia against Muslims, but Hinduphobia is a very new thing, and it's difficult to understand when it's happening. We don't know the tropes. We don't know the negative inherent characteristics that are being laid upon um, Hindu people or Indic people, whatever they want to call themselves. I mean, some of them call themselves Hindutva. I think that's how you say it. Um, but then, some people think, there's a negative connotation with that. Um, but basically, Hindutva, what that is that it means all of the Indic religions under one umbrella. So it's a label that people put on themselves, an identity label. So instead of saying they're Indian, which would be an ethnic thing or a national thing, their nationality or their ethnicity, they identify themselves by this umbrella of, I practice the Indian religion. So there's an important reason why that idea came about. It was meant to be inclusive, um, because when they got rid of the caste system, they were trying to overcome those divisions, and one of the deepest divisions that they had were religion. So they didn't want to have just this Hindu majority real Hindu supremacy. Um, they widened that umbrella with this new term to cover all of Indian religions. Unfortunately for the Christians and the Muslims, it made the majority against them even bigger. So there's a positive and a negative to them starting this whole thing. Um, but, 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 the thing is, in America, it doesn't fucking matter because we don't have a system like that. You know, it doesn't matter if they call themselves Hindutva in America. You know, we don't have, well, maybe a little bit, but we you know, it doesn't matter here. It matters there. It doesn't here. Anyway, sorry. So, getting back to the story that I'm working on. Last week, Tulsi Gabbard was accused by a group of protesters of being heavily funded by the RSS. The RSS is a militant, a civil, well, I guess you could say a organized vigilantes in India. Um, they're thugs. Yeah, I won't deny that. India's kind of fucked up. I mean, there's a lot of violence there. They have deep inequalities. Modi is a thug himself, and I'm not here trying to defend any of that. Let's just be straight. I'm not defending anything India, anything relate, none of them. Um, but she was accused of being heavily funded by this group, um, which is totally not true. Um, but that's not exactly what this video is about. Um, so they're trying to make it seem like she's part of some. I noticed this. One of the protesters on the megaphone. He was comparing the RSS to the KKK, saying that that's the KKK of India. And he claimed that in Breivik's manifesto, there's a whole section devoted to white supremacists need to bond with the RSS. So they're trying to make it seem like she is part of this white supremacist terrorist conspiracy that's coming up in the world right now, as well as make it seem like she is under control of a foreign power. I don't know how she can be both, but whatever. The interesting thing, when this guy went into the town hall, he was wearing a hat and sunglasses, and he took off his hat and took off his sunglasses all dramatically, and like as if she should recognize him, and I don't know, it should have made her scared or something, but she didn't recognize him, and he seemed a bit surprised about that. um the thing is, he thought that she would recognize him because he has actually been the one. He is the one who has led this campaign over a number of years to smear her as a Hindu nationalist. And um, yeah, that pretty much makes me angry. So, anyways, okay, so she is supposedly a puppet of Modi, and the evidence of this, he says, is number one, that she hung out with Modi at all, um, which is really fucking ridiculous because everybody, all of our leaders go see Modi. Um, um, and number two, she blocked a resolution that condemned violence in India, which he claims she must have done as a favor to Modi, or, because she is his pawn. Number three, she blocked, or tried to, because she was unsuccessful at, not successful at this, but she tried to um, prevent the California School Board from reinstating language in the textbooks that framed Hinduism as the cause of the Indian caste system that, is everybody criticizes and thinks, and actually was, a really, really awful thing. Um, Not only, did she ask them not to include language that framed them as the cause of it, but also not to frame Hinduism as being, as the caste system being inherent in Hinduism. Okay, so she objected to those things. As I said, she lost that fight. Previously, it had been taken out of the textbooks, but then someone lobbied for them to put it back in because they said that it was whitewashing. Okay, it was whitewashing. Um, the other thing he says is that she hangs out with Hindu nationalists, and she participated, um, or meant to participate in a Hindu nationalist event here in America, but ended up canceling because one of the minority groups had sent a letter to all of the DNC operatives requesting or demanding that they not allow her to go. So basically, violating her right to do whatever the fuck she wants to do, whoever she wants to see. Um, and it also demanded that she condemn the organization that they claim, that he claims is fascist. Okay, so here's an interesting thing. The group that this guy belongs to, the OMFI, um, he's actually been in a few different groups. And I think it was the OMI before it, and something else and something else. And then the original group is called the the Khalistan Center. And the guy who founded all of these different organizations, not so long ago, and I'll put this in my article, um, was almost busted by the FBI. They had him under surveillance. He was looking to buy guns. Um, Guns. He was looking to buy weapons to send back to India to arm a Khalistani group. And if you don't know what the Khalistani movement is, they are a bunch of separatists, and they're violent, they're terrorists. Some of them are not so violent. They have different activities that they do, but some of them are actual terrorists. Canada recognizes this and have them all, on their watch list and whatever. If they're not involved in the violent aspects of to reach their goals, which is separatism, they want a piece of India for themselves, their own sovereign nation. Um, what they do is they subvert, they do subversive work in Western nations to turn those governments against India. And one of their primary goals is to blame Hinduism to blame all the violence that has happened in India on Hinduism, and to portray Hinduism as inherently oppressive, repressive, regressive, and ultimately violent. So they are an anti-Hindu group that spreads Hindu phobia. So yes, the guy is Hindu phobic. The accusations that he has the allegations that he has made against Tulsi Gabbard are Hindu phobic. There are three distinct um, characteristics. Okay, so when you talk about phobias, okay, anti-Semitism against Jews, Islamophobia against Muslims, Hindu phobia, or sometimes called anti-Hindu sentiment against people of India or Indian religions. Um, it's all about establishing stereotypes, um, inherent things about these people that people should be afraid of. For Hinduphobia, those three, how it's done is they talk about all of the violence that happens in India. The more brutal, the better the message, the more successful their message. And they'll talk about rape all the time, and gang rapes. Rape's like a big theme for any group that's trying to make people afraid of, you know. I mean, they do the same thing with Islam. I mean, it's like when Russia did their anti-Islam um, campaigns throughout Europe and then in America. It all started off with some teenager getting raped. You know, back in World War II, they did the same thing. You know, all the different. You know, Germany did propaganda that said the Russians were going to rape their women, and Russia said the Germans were going to rape their women. You know, I mean, that's like one of the big themes is they're going to rape your women. So anyways, so they talk about how women are raped, nuns are raped, Christians are raped. Christianity is a big thing. Christians getting slaughtered, beheaded, you know, whatever. I'm not saying that those things didn't happen, but they do, you know, make it really graphic and scary. And then they blame Hinduism for it. Okay. Um, and they do that by, first of all, repeating the story of how repressive and oppressive and regressive Hinduism is. So, Christine Graylo's narrative about Tulsi belonging to a cult, I mean, that played a huge role in part of the story. And I don't know if these people actually work together to begin with, but they are working together now. Pretty sure with um, someone who once challenged Tulsi for her seat, tried to primary her. So you know, at one time maybe the at one time the Hindu nationalism story might not have been so, you know, that alone probably wouldn't have done it, and Christine Graylo's story might not have done it. But now that the two are working together, um, the Hindu phobia is starting to erupt. Um, a lot of my friends are scared. But anyways, so there's the violence, then there's the repressive nature, etc. And then they blame Hinduism on the violence, like um, all of the violence in India was caused by Hinduism because of its oppressive, repressive, and regressive inherent nature. And then you know once they have people accepting those ideas, then they start talking about Hinduism as if it's a communal thing. Now, when I did the article about Christine Greylow's narrative, I talked about what I called a mind hive. So it's pretty similar to that. It's like they're all connected, like there's a web, um, a conspiratorial web, and they all have a common goal. And so, you can't trust them. They have this hyper in-group mentality is basically, what this communal image that they want to portray. And that's where they're at right now. Um, as if, they all have one common goal, um, a nefarious goal. And right now they've tied it in with the white terror, white supremacy, terrorist crap that's going on right now. Um, and that's part of the final stage when they start talking about yellow, no, no, not yellow, the saffron terror. And the thing that alarmed me is seeing that Peter guy retweeting yesterday, like all these fucking tweets talking about RSS terrorism and how they're terrorists. And then I saw saffron terror, and that scared the shit out of me. It didn't make me scared of Hinduism. It made me scared for my Hindu friends. They already go through a lot. I mean, Hindus usually keep their head down. I mean, my one friend, he owns a store, and quite often people are just dicks. They'll make fun of him. They'll ask him, like, I don't know, ignorant questions. And I asked my friend, well, how do you deal with that? And he said, I just pretend I don't speak English and I don't understand what they're saying and smile and say thank you very much. But if you I'm 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 scared for him. I'm scared for my other friends that live around here, and so I just wanted to get that out. Um, so when you look at the accusations that he's made, when you look at the activities that she says, this is interesting. Why I say that there's been such a long campaign by this guy against Tulsi Gabbard. Um, the things that he complains about, the things that he says are proof of how they control her. The resolution that she blocked. I read that resolution yesterday, and you should go take a look at it. It doesn't it doesn't just condemn the violence in India. It actually blames Hindu nationalism for it. So I can see why she didn't sign it, and she probably, when she said that it was a political politically motivated, um meant to interfere somehow in India, she's absolutely right. So it actually declares that Hinduism is to blame, and he actually is responsible for that. His organization lobbied Congress to do the resolution to begin with, because America was starting to have friendship talks with India. President Obama wanted to reestablish a relationship with India. That was his decision, and he sent Tulsi Gabbard over to India in order to, do some fact checking and see how that was going to work out. And a lot of people think like, oh, Tulsi Gabbard organized the whole thing, but that is not true. I mean, our military was already working with the Indian military. on joint task forces before Tulsi Gabbard even got elected to office. So those things were already going on. The ball was already rolling um, to reestablish a relationship between the United States and India. Anyway, the other thing that he talks about is the textbook thing, and I explained what it was that she was trying to do. The interesting thing is that his organization was the one who lobbied to get that language back in the textbook. That language that blamed the caste system on Hinduism. That language that Hinduism is inherent, the caste system is inherent in Hinduism. Okay, so he had a hand in that. And then when it comes to this organization that she said that fascist organization that she supposedly, well, not supposedly fascist organization that she was co-chairing, and then the group had exposed her. It was his group. So when he talks about the things that she did for Modi, what he's really talking about is how she has stood in his way while he, you know, tried to accomplish his Hindu phobic agenda, his Khalistan agenda, in turning our government against the government of India. She stood in his way. He wants her out because she sees what the fuck is going on. She's no dummy. And she's not having it. So that's what the whole thing is about. Um, so that is my message. And I just wanted to say that even if you don't like Tulsi Gabbard, to please stop spreading this story, because it is really putting a lot of people in a lot of danger. So if you want to hate on her for something else, just not this. I mean, none of it is real. I'll go over the facts if I can right now, as far as whether or not she is actually funded by the RSS. Um, Peter Friedrich's work, um, Tulsi actually has no connection to the RSS. And if you actually read the articles that are written, it quotes an expert that says that the organizations that Tulsi deals with in America are linked to the RSS. The expert that is quoted, guess who it is? Peter Friedrich. So you know what I call bullshit? Total bullshit. Anyways, that is it, and I hope I didn't make a total fool of myself. Y'all have a good night. Fight for the truth. Keep America free. Good night. Aloha.